Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of This is a Dragon. Therefore, anything you say is irrelevant. Okay, my beautiful wife is over here. This video is actually for a very specific person. My beautiful wife on her computer. There's Lucky, our dog.
John's, no, he's sleeping in the closet.
Oh, John's sleeps, yeah.
He's on the closet.
I don't know if you can see him right there.
Come here, John.
This is actually for his wife.
Come here, baby. Come here, John. Oh, come on.
I don't think he wants to come out.
Come here, baby. He's asleep. Oh, come here. He wants to play. Come on. Come on, Mr.
Maria, I wanted to ask you. Yes, he has on a harness. There he is.
Let go. Okay.
Down
Here he
on
is.
his head.
Mr.
There he
Sleepyhead.
is. There he is.
He's a little guy and people woke me up.
You know what he likes to do?
Purr.
Yeah, and he likes to shoot out the door as soon as the door
And
opens.
run under the cars.
Yeah, and
Sit there and watch the birds.
yeah, I mean, he's not running
He doesn't
away.
breathe or anything. He just say, ooh, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and he likes the snow. When we got him fixed, and I took him for a walk on his leash, he went out there and he plopped his rear end in the
I
snow.
think he had a sore butt that day.
Yeah. Anyway, Maria, I wanted to ask you, I have to look up the city you live in. What?
Germany?
Germany, yeah. I was wondering, what I was saying is, I'm going to have to look up to see where where you live compared to where I live. Because after we escaped Franco in España and Spain, we lived in Germany for a little while, for about 5 months, while we waited to get into the United States. And we lived in Hanau. I don't think I ever learned to speak German. If I did, it wasn't more than a few words. I was at the age where I could speak, but I spoke Spanish. I don't think I even spoke any English at that point. But anyway, I was wondering if you happen to know, if you happen to know anybody in Hanau. The reason I ask is, my best friend, his name was Steffi. We called him. To me, he was Steffi. And I have slides and stuff from back in those. Those were good days. Now, his parents were not German. They were from Yugoslavia, or as some people say today, the former Yugoslavia. And Steffi's mom, as far as I know, she never learned to speak anything but Serbo-Croatian, or what I am assuming that's the language she spoke. Now, his dad was like my dad, the typical European who speaks multiple languages. His dad spoke like 5 languages. Steffi's dad spoke like 5 languages. My dad spoke English, Spanish, German, Irish. I shouldn't say he spoke Irish. I don't know if he spoke Irish or if he spoke a Scots Gaelic version. I don't know, because my grandmother was from Scotland, but my grandfather was from Ireland. And he spoke Japanese because he had friends he grew up with whose parents were from Japan. Those days, his friend's parents, when the war came, my dad was Canadian, and when the war came, like what happened in the United States, my dad's friend's parents were told by the Canadian government that they either had to move to the interior of Canada or they had to go back to Japan. Now, these kids had never been to Japan. They knew nothing about the country. They were,
They had to go back to Japan.
because they didn't trust them, just like over here.
Canada?
In Canada, just like over here, you were put into an internment camp if you were Japanese.
I didn't know they did that.
Some Germans and some Italians also got sent to camps over here. And my wife, by the way, is of German descent. but we don't know where in Germany.
I think very older, much older than Hitler, long before that.
Yeah. And he wasn't even German. He was Austrian. Well, anyway,
Whatever the hell he was.
now, Steffi's dad had been a soldier during the war, but they weren't German. They were Yugoslavian. So it's interesting because my Uncle Alf was married to my auntie. Okay, my auntie by blood, but my Uncle Alf was my uncle by marriage. My Uncle Alf was Canadian Navy during the war. My father was Canadian Merchant Navy during the war. My grandfather was Canadian Navy during the war. My step-grandfather was U.S. Navy during the war. And my mom's dad was U.S. Army in World War I, but he was too old to serve in World War II. And my wife's dad was United States Army Air Corps in World War II. But he wasn't a pilot, he was an MP. And anyway...
There's got to be somebody to guard the plane.
Yeah. And anyway, so what I was saying, you know, I mean, you know, my dad learned to speak Japanese from his friends whose parents were from Japan. Now, when their parents took them to Japan, two of them wound up serving in the Imperial Japanese Navy. I mean, it's amazing. If you think about it, and this has nothing to do with why I'm making this video. I just started thinking about this because I think about Europe a lot, and I love Europe. And if it weren't for Spain being so freaking corrupt now, I would love to actually, well, I don't know if I would love, but I would definitely, I would like for us to move there. For me to move back, for my wife to move there. But we don't have the means to do that. But,
Get the lottery.
yeah. But anyway,
we do, we're going.
Yeah. But yeah, hey, Franco's dead, so I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, you know. But maybe you, being from Europe, maybe you understand. A lot of people don't understand how I can be, you know, elated by the fact that Franco's gone. I just wish they would bulldoze his freaking tomb. But anyway, so
we can't forget about the old SOB.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I would go to his tomb just to make sure, you know, he's dead. You know, that's why I would go. Not because I'm paying tribute to him. I just
about those who forget the past.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, anyway, this is the interesting part. Steffi's dad was a German soldier in the war. My Uncle Alf's youngest brother was RAF. He was in a Handley Page Halifax, and he was shot down. He was lost over Germany. What if Steffi's dad shot down my uncle's brother?
Oh, God.
Can you imagine that? And what if... Now, my dad was in the North Atlantic during the war. But what if my dad... Well, my step-grandfather or adopted grandfather, whatever you want to call him, he was in the Pacific on the battleship Texas. What if it would have been my dad's friends who would have sunk my adopted grandfather's ship? Although it wasn't sunk, it survived the war. But can you imagine that? You know, it's like, you know, soldiers today, soldiers from Vietnam who served in Vietnam, you know, a lot of them go back to say, you know, sometimes they actually meet the very people they were fighting against. You know, my unit fought your unit. But anyway, the point of this video is, I'm sorry. The point, yeah, almost. The point of this video is, do you happen to know anybody in Hanau? I would like to reconnect with Steffi's parents. The screen went dark. The last name was Brown, Brown. But now Steffi died. Steffi was about 6 years old when he passed away. He had a heart condition, and so he died. But I know his dad passed away. His mom has probably passed away, but I know his. Well, I shouldn't say I know. I assume at least some of his siblings are still around. Now, some of his siblings would have been. I mean, my gosh, some of his siblings, 2 or 3 of them anyway, were old enough to remember the war, so that tells you how old they are. So they may or may not still be around. But anyway, oh, excuse me.
I hate our internet. Slow.
I mean, if you happen to know anybody, or maybe you know the Browns in Hanau. I don't know. Oh, thank you. I have to go in there and get dinner.
We're having chili.
Yeah.
Making chili, actually.
Oh, you know what Mrs. Brown used to do? She made her own sauerkraut, and it was good. She also had the whole yard.
Well, that's what you can do with those 2 heads of cabbage.
Yeah. The whole yard was a garden. The front and backyard. I think the front yard was like a flower garden, and the back was a vegetable garden. I miss Europe. Anyway, Maria, just wondering if you happen to know anybody in Hanau, or maybe maybe my friends moved to where you live. I don't know. I don't remember. I remember Steffi. I don't remember his siblings because Steffi was my friend and I was young. But maybe somebody who lives in Hanau, or just wondering. And you got to see John. Oh, now he's behind my wife. I got something in my eye. Bye-bye.